Welcome, welcome, Mr. Kirk. It's nice to have you on. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Hey, my pleasure to be here. You know, we all have beards. I think a beard revival is what's happening.
Mm,
I mean,
It's
what
not
is
just
the
a spiritual
lion?
revival.
What is the lion without its mane?
that's it.
Right?
I know.
I mean, whoever thought this was a good idea to keep men looking like boys? I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
You've had a
mine's
beard for
just
a
now
while.
growing back. Yeah, mine's just now growing back. I had the mustache just a couple of weeks ago.
I mean, we've got words for people who don't have beards: women and children.
Women and you know, it's funny because when I first met you, you did not have a beard, Kirk. You did not have
I
a beard
didn't.
years ago.
No, my wife said I could grow one.
I love it. I love it. Because I was going to say, like 10 years ago, you were very much beardless. Very much beardless.
Yeah.
Beardless bro.
So
Yeah, because I recognized you, like, once I started following you here recently, like a year or two ago. I always thought you looked familiar, and then the Left Behind, I seen it somewhere, and I was like, okay, that's where. Yeah, totally. You look totally. Well, the longer
I
hair, the
terrified
no
you
beard.
as a child. You thought you were going to wake up
I was
one
actually,
morning, your
I
parents
was
were
actually
gonna be
gonna, I was actually gonna bring that up. I was like, that scar. Like, I can't remember because we watched it in the church I grew up in. We watched that and the Passion of the Christ in the church I grew up in. And I was,
I know, man.
maybe 5 or 6 or something like that. And then I was
That's
like,
right. That's right. You know, between Left Behind and the teaching on hell, we traumatized a lot of kids.
I was just going to say, I mean, Kirk, you've been at the forefront of a lot of traumatizing moments. I mean, and you did 3 Left Behinds. There were 3 of those films to traumatize people.
Yeah, there were 3. People always ask me if they're going to do all of the books and turn them all into movies, and I don't think that's going to be the case. Different groups of
there's
people
like
who wrote the
17 books, isn't there?
Made the movies. Yeah.
are they
A lot of books.
So I wasn't sure. Like, were you just acting in those, or were you part of like the writing and the producing side of the films? I don't know who even.
I was just acting in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah. I just played a part. Somebody else wrote them, directed them, all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, you honestly, I don't even know where to start here because there's a million things to talk to you about, but the thing that this Hellgate thing, right now, this Hellgate thing is a big thing. And this Hellgate, tell people, for those who don't know, you got yourself into like a little bit of trouble. Is that the word I would use? Trouble?
Yeah. Well, remember,
public trouble.
So Hellgate is something that just happened like last weekend, and it just dropped a couple of days ago. And I call it Hellgate because the subject of hell has scandalized a lot of people. So, you know, you got Watergate, you got Russiagate. This is about political corruption. This is about, right, like secret agendas. And the topic of hell is one that has been debated for 2,000 years. And there are some people who feel so strongly about what happens to people in hell that they'll call you a heretic if you don't agree with them.
Yeah.
And they put it on the level of something like the resurrection or the gospel itself or the authority of Scripture. And
Like a
for
salvation
2,000 years,
issue.
good and godly men have been debating what actually happens to the wicked who reject the gospel. Are they twisting and turning in fire where worms are eating them for eternity? Or is that symbolic imagery to describe full and final destruction of the wicked as seen in Sodom and Gomorrah and other places where we read of fire and smoke that ascends forever and ever and ever. So it started out not as controversy. It was just a father-son conversation with my son on my podcast. And it just, well, frankly, I caught hell for it.
You did.
Yeah.
I mean, no pun intended or pun intended. I mean, I saw it, right? And I reached out to you and I texted you and we talked about it. And I was, when I saw it, I thought to myself, I was like, okay, this is interesting because people did treat you like you were basically renouncing Christianity. I mean, that was like literally.
Right. Right. It was like, well, somebody on I think it was on X or something, they posted something and it was a tiny little clip from the conversation I had with my son. And the caption was basically, Kirk changes his mind about hell. And so everybody assumed that what he was saying was that I was denying that hell was even real. Like I was pulling a full Rob Bell, right? That I was just going to be like, nope, everybody's going to heaven. That's not what I was saying at all. Heaven is real. Sin is serious. The wrath and punishment of God is full. It is eternal. But how does it actually unfold? And church fathers and modern scholars have debated these things. And I would like to see this topic safe to debate and understand, because honestly, it calls the character of God to the table. And it makes us ask really hard questions. I mean, Dr. Albert Mohler even said that this is, I believe it was like an attack on the gospel or on the nature of God. And
like what you said was an attack on the gospel. Like he was saying.
Yeah, or a position that differs from the traditional position. But again, for those of us who are Protestants, we need to go to the Bible and say, what does it really say? I appreciate church tradition, and we cannot ignore what 2,000 years of church history has said. But if we really go back and we're honest with it, prior to Augustine, we had views of conditional immortality or annihilationism as an orthodox view, and scholars today are returning to this position as a more scriptural position and a more balanced position. It's not going soft on judgment. And so I said, let's have a deep dive roundtable with 4 brilliant scholars from around the world. Let's call it Hellgate. We won't avoid the difficult questions, open up the scriptures and appeal to the Bible and say, what does it really say about the fate of the wicked? Because it matters to the people that we love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope people will watch it. I've talked to so many people and I've asked them, what do you believe about hell? And they'll tell me, I'll say, well, why do you believe that? And they're like, I don't know. I've never questioned it. It's just what I've always been taught. And if I question it, I think that's kind of the same thing as saying, I don't believe the Bible. Well, that's not true. That's not true at all. There's mystery here and there's difficulty in understanding some things. So this is an opportunity for us to be good Bereans, to be iron sharpening iron, to know why we hold the positions that we hold, and so that we can answer our neighbor when they say, how could a loving God punish somebody just for not believing the gospel with eternal torment? That doesn't seem fair, they will say. How do we answer questions like that when your children are asking those things? And if your children are not embracing the gospel, what will happen to them when they die? And how are these questions sitting with you?
Yeah. Well, you can't learn if you don't question things. So that's my view. Well, in my view on it, I don't have me and Billy talked about this a little bit earlier. I don't know really where I sit on it. I mean, I've seen both sides of the fence, but all I know is when Jesus talks about it, he just makes it known that you definitely don't want to go there. Yeah. And so that's just that's my perspective on it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you. It's up with heaven, down with hell. Yeah. Jesus said, right? Like, cut off your hand, cut off your foot, gouge out your eye. Would be better to lose them and go to heaven than to have all of them and go to hell. And then he uses language there, which is a call back to Old Testament imagery in Isaiah 66, where you see all of this flame and that don't die and these worms that don't die. And it's this picture of awful, terrible judgment. And these are the kinds of passages that we dive into to try to understand what is hell and death and Hades and Sheol and Gehenna and the lake of fire and the second death. These are really interesting topics. And that's what Hellgate is all about. Yeah.
So your Hellgate thing, which is so interesting, that you got these guys together, right? And you're having this debate. And like, to your point, Dalton, like, we've got to be able to talk about things. If we can't sit down and talk about it and ask questions, that's a dangerous thing. And I think we've kind of moved to this place where people don't want to have any real conversation about anything. And so you don't even, Kirk, I don't want to speak for you, but do you even have, like Dalton said, he hasn't landed on one. Have you landed on a position with this where you're kind of like, this is where I stand?
I'm deeply persuaded by the conditional immortality position, which is really surprising to me because, again, I had never even heard of any other position than the traditional position. And so is it just new to me, or is it something that is really scripturally based? Well, unless I've got a blind spot, I'm leaning toward the direction of Martin Luther and John Stott and Edward Fudge and others. And that's why it's such an interesting topic to me, because at the end of the day, I can trust that God is going to always do what is right and just, and everything will be in line with his character, his mercy, his love, and his justice. So that's not in question. But when somebody asks me whether or not hell is Dante's Inferno with a devil and a pitchfork with horns on his head and fire and flames roasting people in a barbecue for eternity, I now have enough knowledge to say, no, not even the people today who believe in eternal conscious punishment believe that this is figurative language in the book of Revelation. And we have that kind of language in the Old Testament as well that Jesus referred to. And it's referring to something awful and miserable and a deprivation of everything that is good. You want to avoid it at all costs, and the cure is the gospel. But the very nature of that punishment and how it unfolds, is it an experience that lasts for eternity, or is it the result of a judgment like death and execution that is full and final and eternal? That's
which is also a form of hell. I mean, is it not a form of hell to be and I'm not saying, because my position has always been the traditional one, but if the idea is that you're going to be wiped out forever and that's it, that's a form of hell to me. I mean, it's a form of, it's actually more terrifying in some ways to think that you would cease to exist forever. I don't know. I mean, that's where I'm at on. I know what you guys think.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of, I mean, if hell is separation from God, I mean, you can look at it from both ways. Like, you can be gone forever from him, or you can be just absent from his presence in an eternal. So that's just kind of where my brain's at. Like I said, I don't really know which side I'm on yet, but that's kind of where my brain works with it. So
yeah. Well, yeah. I think everyone will find it wildly invigorating, intellectually and emotionally and spiritually, to watch Hellgate, because you have guys who know a lot about this topic that bring up points that you may not have thought of. So I was just thrilled. And I think the best part about the whole thing was to see the love and respect that they had for one another, even though they sharply disagreed about what they thought the Bible taught. They agreed on the important essentials. They agree on the gospel. They agree on the Bible. They agree on heaven. They agree on the resurrection and all of these essential issues. But when it comes to this, they've landed differently, and you can see why they landed there. And a lot of it has to do with the emphasis and the focus. Is it on the weeping and the gnashing of teeth? Is it on restlessness and torment? Or is it on the forever and enduring nature of something as permanent as death?
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I saw Wes Huff commented on your Instagram post just saying he loved this whole discussion, that all of you were his friends, that it was really cool to see it. And I thought we need more of that. Like, we need to be able to talk about this stuff freely.
Well, has he had a take on that? Like, if you talk to him,
he defended Kirk.
Okay.
He defended Kirk's position.
I only ask him out of anybody else just because of his, like, I mean, that dude reads more the actual old Greek literature and stuff than I've ever seen anybody do. So, I mean, he's a historian.
Kirk, he didn't take your position, right? But he defended that your position existed and was one that was historical.
That it was historic, that it was robust, right. It was based on scripture and not on emotion. Okay. And that for anyone to say that this is outside the pale of orthodoxy is just incorrect, maybe ignorant, or maybe they've got an axe to grind. But this is a really important position. And for me, it answers some important questions if it's true. I mean, look, I don't want to stand before God and find out that I have misrepresented his character in any way. Wrong on this side.
That's actually terrifying. That's terrifying.
I don't want to be that guy. And so I want to do what I can to understand the issue so I can honor him and so I can properly present his character to unbelievers.